Hey everyone, Internet Vicious Book Reader here. Today I want to talk about Love Like the Falling Petals by Keisuke Uyama. The book opened with what I think is a poem. I could be wrong since my brain can really process poems that well. It is written by who is most likely your main character to a girl named Misaki about his regret and his grief. It set the expectation of the story fairly clear from the get-go. It's going to be overly cheesy and it's going to be a sob story where the girl either died here or died young from a horrible sickness. Then we go to the actual start of the book. Our main character, Asakura Haruto, is getting a haircut by a girl named Ariake Misaki, who most likely is the girl referenced in the poem. Misaki is so beautiful that Haruto can't help but stare at her, which is a weirdo behavior, don't stare, but thankfully he's self-aware about it. He did manage to make some awkward conversation with her before she accidentally cut off his earlobe. At this point of the book, honestly, he kinda deserves it. Don't bother people at their work just because you're so down bad. But I guess he's 24, he's young, so we should cut him some slack, I guess. Anyway, this is actually not his first time meeting Misaki. While he's on the ambulance to go to the hospital, he remembered the first time he met Misaki, which is right after high school baseball season is over. Since there's nothing to do because of that, he decided to go to get a haircut on his way to buy some books. The random salon he goes to, which he usually will never go since it's not his vibe, he's above this kind of chic salon where the stylists dyed their hair blonde, but it was in this salon that he judged so harshly that he met Misaki. So he kept coming back to the salon like a stalker. He even lied to her and said he's a professional photographer that have one on board because he wanted to look cool to her. And now, thanks to her cutting his ear, he managed to ask her on a date to watch the cherry blossoms, nothing like lording over someone's regret and mistake to get something out of them. I'm sure that won't become a problem in a long-term relationship, he said sarcastically. Meanwhile, Misaki went home and get a few drinks with her brother and his girlfriend. She spilled the events of today with her brothers, who rightfully got furious because Haruto took advantage of her and asked her to go on a date, and Ayako, the brother girlfriend, is a psycho that needs to keep her mouth shut instead of encouraging the date. She also received a spam-looking mail from Haruto that made her suspicious that of course he will make her look him up on the internet since a professional photographer can be that socially incompetent. But for some reason the author makes this a chance for her to be flustered if maybe the guy like her instead of a red flag to be a warning to stay away from the dude. And she really needs to be more careful because Haruto is not a photographer. He works part-time in a rental video, which is not that big of a deal even if he's honest, but he is so socially inept that he even falls victim to self-help books for stylish male. He's the type of guy who will become victim to those trying to capitalize on male loneliness. And the book immediately failed him on his date with Misaki since they're just talking about what a guy should do if movie scenarios happen, which are very specific set of situations that rarely happens in real life. So of course those self-help books did not help him with the date, and not only that, the cherry blossom place is obviously crowded unlike in romantic movies where they clear the area. And worse, his college came and because of him, Misaki found out that Kotaro has been lying about being a photographer. She rightfully got mad at him, and for some weird reason, he thinks this is encouragement to go back to being a photographer, and for some weird reason, she thinks that's romantic. So the story goes on with Haruto going back to photography, and Misaki is not only really dumb, she's also really sick. Her sickness makes her hair started graying because the author invented a new disease that will make her grow old at a faster rate. And obviously she got sicker and sicker as the story and the romance progress. The book is a bit of a mixed bag with the character. For example, Haruto, he's actually quite a well-written, unlikable character. He's 24, so he is still barely before the age of being called out for weaponizing his incompetence and ignorance. You can see his insecurities from his action and how judgmental he is to other people. He hardly judged the salon when he first saw it as a place to check for him because it's not a place he goes into usually and it might be too pricey for him compared to his usual spots. He judged people partying during Sakura Blossom Watch because he's afraid it might make Misaki uncomfortable and dislike him, which is very relatable in a very young way. But there's so much social plot armor for Haruto that it makes the story even more fictional than Musoku Tensei. We often only talk about plot armor in action series where the characters survive after getting hit by whatever. It's usually fine as long as the plot armor have a little bit of justification, but the plot armor is at the level of Indiana Jones and the fridge that survive a nuclear blast. And that plot armor is exactly the one that makes Misaki into one of the worst written characters. She's basically just a plot device with two purposes. One is to fix Haruto, and two is to make the story sad. Besides those, none of her action makes sense as a person. She's either a saint or very dumb or a saint that is very dumb. In this story, Misaki is just a walking, talking male fantasy. And because of that, it doesn't really feel that sad when she got sick or when she died since she's not a believable character. I feel sadder when going Mary from One Piece was gone. That's how far removed I am from the character. Here's Kotaro, an immature weirdo that is giving major stalker behavior, and she was like, oh how romantic, like come on, what is this, Twilight? And that's why at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if Kotaro managed to become more mature at the end of the story or not. The story still romanticizes romance. It's trying so desperately to make I Can Fix Him into something that is beautiful. You can tie a pretty bow at a shit, it's still a stinky shit. Well, yes, being in a healthy relationship should make you grow up and become more mature as a person, but becoming more mature should not be dependent on being in a relationship. That's just irresponsible. Your partner should not be the one who is responsible for you being more mature. That responsibility belongs to you. And then there's also Ayako, the girlfriend of Misaki's brother, who is so weirdly pushy to Misaki to go into a relationship with Haruto, to the point in the story where if she is actually an antagonist that actually hates Misaki, I wouldn't be surprised. But no, it's just because the plot armor and the character is not that well written. That's why she was acting super suspicious. It's because she's also just another plot device. If I had a nickel for each female character that was just there to progress the plot, I'd have 2 nickels, which are 2 nickels too much. Like bro, what are you doing? The romance between Haruto and Misaki is also so whack. There is zero chemistry between them, and every interaction they had feels so scripted because again, as I've mentioned, Misaki is a plot device. Every time Haruto did something that is just the bare minimum he should have done anyway even without a partner, Misaki immediately goes, oh he worked so hard for my sake, oh it's so romantic. She is so insufferably dumbly written to the point of grating. The author also speedrun through many romance cliches. They went to dinner to where he paid for the dinner, there was rain, they share one umbrella, which is fine if everything else is well done, but because everything else is not well done, the cliche goes to the pile of things I dislike about the writing. The only little thing the author adds that I quite enjoy is how at the beginning there's a few of the Beatles songs being played in the story and in the salon. The story opened with Pennyland when Haruto is about to ask Misaki on a date the first time, See Love You started playing, and when Haruto first came to the salon, Here Comes the Sun is playing. It's super cheesy and the reference between the song title and the situation is very in your nose, but it's quite creative, so I like that part. But other than that, I don't think there's anything interesting about the book. I did have a little bit of expectation since I've been reading some really well written romance this year, like Hello Beautiful and Alone With You in the Ether, which is really good. But this one is just not it. This is just weaponized incompetence being romanticized with too much plot armor. Then the plot of the book have the goal to say that the story delves into cultural and social issue. Man, you're a cultural and social issue, what the fuck are you talking about? I give this a 0.75. What do you think? Are you gonna read it? Did I miss anything? Leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it.